Welcome to the Meat and Potatoes podcast. Today we're joined by Ethan Parker, who's the co-founder and host of StickShift. This is exciting. First guest on the Meat and Potatoes podcast, hundreds of episodes in, that is a car show host. Congrats.
Thank you. So I'll go with creator. I'm trying to escape tech startups. I like to say that I'm a recovering startup founder. So creator and host.
Creator and host.
StickShift, yeah.
Yeah, that's more artistic.
Right.
Because what you guys are doing with StickShift is a form of art, I think, and storytelling.
Yeah, and it's straight up entertainment. And I think I said in a recent LinkedIn post, this is the stupidest career move I've ever made.
I love it.
As if tech startups aren't risky enough. You've got to find someone that wants to pay you money for what you made. That's hard. But you could also just buy a hot dog stand. Like, people like hot dogs. You can de-risk it by a lot.
Yeah.
I was just listening to so I don't listen to podcasts a lot at all, but I just happened to be listening to Joe Rogan talk to Russell Crowe recently. And Russell Crowe, he really went deep into, hit hard, magic. To entertain, it must be magic. There's no other way to do it. You can sort of try to force it like a tech startup. Like a tech startup, just go buy a company. Josh James bought Corda to start Domo. Mm-hmm. Just go buy a company. Easy. It's already working. Entertainment it just doesn't work like that. Like, you can get 5 A-list celebrities, 5 A-list, director, producer, whatever, writer, and you can make a piece of crap.
A lot of those out there.
Yeah, tons. So when Russell Crowe was just saying, when he was reading through a script, something has to move his heart. Something has to actually speak to him and be meaningful, or else who cares who's in it? In this sort of entertainment journey, if you will, been going on the past year, I met up with someone who has a rock opera, really cool dude. It's called Pleasant Grove, shout out. And he was saying Magic Johnson tried to create a talk show in the early 90s. And maybe you remember, I don't know, maybe you do, but it was a total bomb. And of course, he didn't have any trouble getting A-listers. Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall and whoever else was on the show. But it was absolutely terrible because the dude wasn't a good host. Yeah. And so you can't fake that. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. He's amazing at everything else, but not a good host. What is StickShift? Let's just set the table there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I'm really tempted to just say something really ridiculous what it's not, but I'll tell you what it actually is. I'll stay with you. So StickShift is a show about cars. It's about 3 guys that like cars, and we're just having a good time.
Yeah.
My co-hosts came up extremely organically. When I bought the domain stickshift.com, I thought I was doing another tech startup. I'm like, okay, we're going to aggregate manual transmission cars, and we're going to have the stick pick, just to verify, because you go on Auto Trader and you're sure it's manual, and half of them are still automatic.
Yeah.
They're a dual clutch, or that's, it's stupid. So I was going to have the verified green check mark. This is a manual. To car enthusiasts, that's what you want to see. Anyway, it wasn't until I was able to sell my shares from my previous startup that I was like, well, the final form of this idea really is a show. Why don't we just start there?
Yeah. And 3 fellas talking about cars. You obviously have to know a thing or two about cars. You don't have to be the world's foremost expert. But if it's not fun, that'll come across to the audience as
Arguably the world's foremost expert engineers in cars, you wouldn't really want to hear speak.
No.
There's tons of people that know a whole lot more than I do, but I do have a lifelong obsession with things that go fast. When I was 5 years old, on my bedroom wall, I had the fastest man, the fastest boat, the fastest car, the fastest plane. We lived on an Air Force base, so I could see the fastest plane in a museum just down the road.
Yeah.
And then we lived near the salt flats, which my dad took me to when I was 7. So I saw the fastest car. So I kind of grew up with, my dad was obsessed with cars and motorcycles. And oddly enough, he had a yellow motorcycle and a yellow car, which was a stick shift. So he would let me shift. He would say first, fourth, third. And I would do all the shifting for him from the passenger seat as a little kid. So I've always just been obsessed, and it's run in the blood. My grandpa loved motorcycles, my dad, me. And so that's just kind of, I was kind of born that way.
Yeah. And the cool thing is you aggregate that over a lifetime, and you might not have talked about a certain car or engine for 30 years, but it's all in the brain still. And if you enjoy cars, you can pull that up. I always enjoy talking to car enthusiasts, and the really good ones, it's an encyclopedic memory of speed and engines and liters and valves, and they just love it.
Man, I poured over car and motorcycle magazines all my whole childhood. My dad subscribed to Cycle World, and then of course, like, you'd steal a Car and Driver magazine from the dentist or whatever. And dude, a lot of those. I mean, a C5 Corvette goes 0 to 60 in 4.8. Like, that'll always be in my mind, and that'll always be a benchmark of, are you faster or slower than a C5 Corvette? Which by today's standards is really not that fast of a car.
Yeah.
Pretty cool car, but just the same. So on Bring a Trailer just the other day, there was a 64 GTO for sale that had a 400-inch V8 with tri-power, which is 3 two-barrel carburetors. And I always remember my dad talking about having one of those as a teenager and like giving people whiplash shifting from first to second. So I screenshot it. I'm like, hey, Dad, is this your car? He's like, yeah, but mine was white, but all the other details are exactly the same. And it was going for, like 40 or 50 grand because it was restored. It was a nice car. And for my dad's 69th birthday, I bought him a yellow Saturn Sky, which to most people is like, first off, what's that? And the people who know what it is, they're like, why that? but it's a great car.
Yeah.
It's an Opel GT, I think the model is, from Europe. So it's front engine, rear drive, beefy drivetrain. It's turbo. It's fast. Like, everybody thinks it's a Dodge Viper or a Corvette or something because the hood opens the wrong way. And my dad just loves this car. And he's like, dude, I would way rather have my Saturn Sky than that crappy old GTO, which is sacrilege to older guys and hot rods. But my dad just, like, that car left him stranded so many times, and he just doesn't. We grew up with not a whole lot of money, and like, we fixed our cars because we had to, not because it was fun. And so he doesn't miss those days of being poor and having to fix your car. He's just like, I like getting in and just putting the top down and going for a drive.
Yeah. Yeah. Cars are very cool because there's millions of them and lots of different opinions, but you need a daily commuter oftentimes. Even if you're Daddy Warbucks and you got $1 billion, you might not want to drive your Lamborghini all the time.
Yeah.
And then you've got the fun ones, the straight line speed, the ones that can go around corners. One of your favorites, I think, is one of the best at that. And there's really no right or wrong answer. It's just a fun argument. It's like baseball. It's like, well, I think Ted Williams is better than Willie Mays. Well, prove it.
Yeah. And, like, you're going to get, Ford versus Chevy and like whatever, BMW versus Audi. You're going to get strong opinions, but like, I just think the level of like, misunderstanding and hatred that comes along with politics and religion, it's just not there with cars.
Yeah.
Like, you can disagree and you can have fun disagreeing rather than having your blood boil,
Yeah.
And so I like to say that cars are the universal language.
Yeah.
We're all beholden to them. We can all love them, hate them, but you can't really ignore them.
Nope. I grew up kind of half redneck, and I think this is all since dissipated, but it was either for off-road driving or found on road dead. But there's still like millions of
50th on race day.
Yeah. Of Americans that would walk before they drove a Chevy or a Ford, right?
Yeah. Well, and if you drive a Dodge, you're going to be forced to walk. And so either
All right. Getting back to the show, I was lucky enough to see some of the recordings at a club paddock. And it is you three with a screen, having fun, making fun of bad cars, making fun of each other, arguing. And there's a studio audience there, and there's some cool eye candy with the cars. But it is.
I thought you were going to say with the audience, but yes, the cars too.
Yeah, the cars.
For sure.
I'm not going to get
My
caught.
wife was there, so
I'm not getting caught on anything like that. And you did several episodes and you covered a lot of terrain, but really you've just scratched the surface. You could go for years on this.
Unlimited amount of material.
Unlimited.
Yeah. So one of my co-hosts, Brent, he likes Audis, which I don't know why anybody would like Audis. It doesn't make sense to me. They're all-wheel drive and they're automatic, and yet the word sport makes it into the language. It's sport sedan. It just doesn't make sense. I'll take that. I can diss on him for loving Audis till the end of time, but there's no huge personal blow up because of that. But no, that shoe was a ton of fun. It was great to have you there. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah. And you're going to have another component to it where there will be some drifting and some racing, and you'll have guests, some of whom will be well known to the public. Some will just be characters, kind of challenges and fun, kind of goofing off, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the show will have several segment types. The one you were at was, we call it the This Week segment. It's the three of us, joking around about cars. There's a screen there. The next segment is going to be called Slidey Celebs, where we have them hop inside my aerial Atom that's been specially prepared to be able to drift at low speed safely and have a lot of fun. And then so we're going to have them do a little course, time it. And then we'll have them come into the studio and do an interview. We'll cut to some of their driving, and then we'll throw them up on the leaderboard and see where they fall. So we'll have two different leaderboards. There's the professional driver leaderboard, which obviously there kind of needs to be because they got an advantage.
Yeah.
And then everybody else, athletes, musicians, politicians, actors, whoever.
Yeah. And then it all coalesces into certain shows and episodes, right?
Right. And I guess I forgot. Yeah. The next segment is sort of just like adventures out on the road. Like the three of us have to get a certain type of car, do a certain type of challenge with it, or we'll do like a, for science type experiment where can this car do that,
Yeah. Your opinion on rental cars as like the greatest supercars and the greatest cars you could ever be in versus rental car. I have an opinion on it.
Are you asking my opinion on rental cars?
Well, because you get to drive them like race cars.
Heck yeah, you do. I mean, the story that comes to mind for me is I was in the UK for work and I rent this little Hyundai. So I'm in the right seat and I'm shifting with my left hand.
Yep.
And I'm doing roundabouts. And some of the roundabouts there are crazy. They're like 4 or 5 lanes.
Yeah.
And I had a little miscalculation. I thought I was supposed to continue around the roundabout. My lane was exit only, and boom, had a little crash.
Yeah.
Luckily, it wasn't too bad. And as soon as we hop out, the lady, I feel so bad. She's like, "So it was your fault? What? Yeah, it was your you at fault, weren't you?" And I just say nothing. I'm like, "Yeah, who knows? I don't know. I'm not sure." But luckily, insurance and everything covered it. But that was that was embarrassing to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah, because you could get a little Toyota Corolla, and that red line is in danger all the time, right?
Yeah.
At least that's what I think.
No, I was so pissed at this car that you mentioned that. I was so mad at this car. I was going in like first gear, like rap, 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 rap. I was so pissed.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
All right. So then the chemistry with your co-hosts, and how does that work, and how do you know it's gelling?
It just does. I mean, this is one of those things. So I think when you're on the right track, doesn't matter what you're doing, hot dog stand or, billion-dollar company CEO, things just tend to they kind of come together and they just kind of work. So last summer, I just, a friend of a friend, this guy, he wanted to meet me for whatever reason, talk about cars, and we took him to Topgolf, hit some balls, and then we went over and saw Gran Turismo just off the cuff in the theater next door. And he likes to joke that it was our beautiful first date, but no. So Chris, and it turned out somehow, some way, we were born 24 hours apart. When we were 3 and 4 years old, we lived a 3-hour bike ride from each other in England. We both love cars. We love different types. He loves rally cars. He's obsessed. Mm-hmm. And to me, rally cars are like whatever. I can respect a tiny lightweight thing with 500 horsepower, but rally racing is like the last thing I would want to do in this life. It just makes, you see the videos, I'm like, my gosh, someone is going to die, either me or the crowd.
Jostling.
But no, so we like different things about cars. And he's a designer by profession. So the dude's got an eye, he's like taller, more attractive than me, all that kind of stuff. We're very different. But when we come together and talk about cars, I think our differences make us fun to listen to, if I could be so bold. And then Brent, same thing. Like he's quintessential hyper nerd, like loves computer programming, like, fine details about stuff, loves Audis for crap's sake. Like we're very, very different. But when we come together and talk about cars, it's kind of fun to listen to. And so when you get all three of us, I like to say that like the invisible hand, or the fourth man comes in when the three of us get together and start talking, whether we're on camera or not, it's the same. So the stuff that you saw recording, 75% of what you saw was not scripted. Yeah. We had bullet points of like, okay, we'll show this picture and then see what happens. And that's all you need. We just need a small prompt and then we'll just kind of get going. And I think we all bring a different amount of expertise and knowledge, and it's just fun. They're fun guys. They're just fun to hang out with.
Yeah. Ultimate goal for this StickShift project, right? Like, I assume you're not just doing it for free and you have goals and ambitions for it. What do you think those are?
Yeah, we're not doing it for free. It costs a lot of money. We're way in the negative. No, and we're trying to do it as cheaply as we can, just so we can keep doing it. But goal number one is, believe it or not, is just have fun. Like, if it's not fun, we're not going to do it. If it stops being fun, we're going to stop doing it. Goal number two is make awesome stuff. One of my frustrations with automotive television as it exists today, without some of the best shows that have ever been being gone, is just the lack of effort. It's like, edit your videos, guys. Like, maybe plan it out a little bit. So I don't want to be like the 37-minute in my truck, one shot, unedited, blah, blah, blah kind of channel. I want to entertain people. I really do. I care about the audience. I want them to have fun. I want them to be able to like just laugh along with us, participate with us, whether it's in the audience or other stuff we do, and just entertain people. So have fun, make awesome stuff. And then I guess the obvious after that is be able to keep doing it. So hopefully one day it can sustain itself. But for now, it's all just coming out of our pockets. We're just paying our way, and it's because we want to make it happen.
Yeah. Very few things in life in 2024 are brand new. They're usually incarnations. There's not very many reinventions of the wheel. There's three fellows who did it really good and still are, for almost 30 years now. I see a lot of influence from those three with you three. Is that true or not?
Yeah, of course it's true. Yeah. And you just say it. We're talking about Top Gear. So this is really cool. Yesterday, I shit you not, I was talking to the executive producer of Top Gear for 30 minutes. A friend of a friend, one of my friends just connect. He's like, oh yeah, I know this guy. Let me just connect you. Not even an hour later, we're talking on the phone. He's just like, yeah, I'm free right now. What the hey? And like, this was crazy. I'm like trying not to have a total like fangirl meltdown on the phone with this guy. I'll just share a couple things I learned from him. So Top Gear started in 1977.
Yep.
It was basically newspaper reporters that felt an obligation to the public to educate on automobiles. Because as we said, they're very important to modern society. And it was extremely boring, extremely factual. Like late 80s comes around, they're just gonna can the show. They're like, meh. But then so this guy and then also Jeremy Clarkson kind of come around and they're like, no. Like we'll put in the effort, don't kill it. And so through the early 92 is when this guy kind of started on the show. Through the late 90s, it got more fun. Like Jeremy Clarkson started making people laugh and he started being entertaining. But yet again, it kind of came around, it did its thing. They're like, we're going to kill it. And so they actually did in 99. Mm-hmm. So Clarkson came out with his own talk show. I believe it was just called Clarkson. And he did a couple other like engineering, narrative, documentary style things. And then, it just sort of bubbled up again. And they basically said like, okay, Jeremy, like you can have this if you want. And he said, yes, of course I do. And again, this the first season of Top Gear. It aired once on BBC in like 2002 and never again. And you can't find it. It's gone. And I told the guy, I was like, dude, I gotta see this. And he's like, why? It sucks. And I'm like, oh, just because I'm a super fan. I've seen every episode from the 2003 to 2015 Top Gears, season 0 through 21.1 or whatever. At least 4 or 5 times, every episode 4 or 5 times. But so that now I have this mission. I'm like, I have to like fly to England and beg them for these archive tapes or something. But so this conversation was it was so inspiring and so crazy. So of course that's the inspiration. And are we, there's something else he said that's really kind of important. He's like, Top Gear was an accident. It's never going to happen again.
Nope.
It's never going to be that good. It's never going to be that big. And when I say that big, most people don't understand that by, the peak of Top Gear, season 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, it was in over 100 countries and over 500 million views per episode. There aren't many shows in the history of the world that have that many views. There are very few Mr. Beast videos that have over 500 million views as a standalone video. And so like, are we going to top those numbers? Like, come on, like probably not. I don't care. It's fine. And when I told the guys, like, cause he asked me like, well, what are you doing? What is this? He's like, and he said, well, give me a one-liner. What are you doing? I said, 3 guys who like cars having fun. And I really mean that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do me. I'm going to be me. I'm not a professional actor. I mean, we've like shot a couple of commercials for companies I started like, okay, but no, That's not my background. So all I can do is be me. And same with Brent and Chris. All they can do is be them. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have fun. We're going to entertain each other. We're going to entertain ourselves and start there.
Yeah. What those three did is phenomenal. And you can't get a better chemistry than what they've had, right? And to do it for that long. And
he even said nobody would hire those three guys.
No.
He said Top Gear was an accident.
Yeah. They're all very self-deprecating, right? They're all like, yeah, we were kind of bums and had a lot of potential. And what a journey. All right, let's do.
And to be clear, with Brent and Chris, like I did not host auditions to be my co-host. I've never even thought of that before. It's literally just occurring to me right now. But to be very clear, like it never even occurred to me to hold auditions for this. Like no ways. It's happened like really, really slowly, really, really organically. And this is something that the three of us want to do. And we're lucky enough to have some flexibility in our careers right now to be able to totally just goof off in front of a camera and be idiots for a second, which is awesome.
It's fun. So good. Somebody's got to do it. Might as well be y'all.
Yeah, I guess.
I do love me some Top Gear as well. So we're going to do a test. Some of this is Top Gear related. Some of it's not. We'll see if you pass. It's pass fail.
All right. Bring it on.
Ford Pintos had a tendency to.
Well, before I get to what you're talking about, I'll say number one, suck. Number two, be the Mustang. There's a generation of Mustang that was just a freaking Pinto with a horse stamped onto it. So shame, shame, shame. And then of course, on top of shame, you've got murder. So they at low speed, if they suffered a rear end collision, there is a point in the rear suspension that would puncture the gas tank. It would leak out onto the exhaust system and burst into flames. That sounds pretty bad, right? Oh, no, we're not done. It would pin the two front doors shut, thereby encasing the driver in a deadly coffin full of flames. And about only like 7 to 10 people died like that, but it was so gruesome and so terrible that, of course, it made the news. And that's the quintessential story of a company choosing we'll take the lawsuits over saving human lives. So hopefully the car industry has learned something since then. But yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah, I think they have. You talk to older folks or you see older video footage like seat belts, what? Car seats? No. Just big metal hunks traveling at high speeds, yes.
Yeah, glass that cuts itself up into giant shards, knives.
It's amazing any of us are still here. The Tesla Cybertruck is
dumb. Next.
Okay. That might have just put you in some danger.
No, I don't know. Let's just put it this way. I'll have a lot more to say about the Cybertruck in the coming months.
All right.
So watch the show.
Okay. Now back to some Top Gear. Best Top Gear episode. I have 4 written here, but let's see what you've got.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll see if any of these match up with your 4. That's a tough one. I mean, there's so many that are so good for different reasons. For me, I think I almost kind of have to answer an episode that came out in season 5, the Aerial Atom. So this was just as the show was starting to really ramp up, because season 0, or if you want to call it that, season 1 was the first syndicated and aired episode with the not James May host. They got rid of him, and season 2, James May came in. But so they were still figuring things out. They literally had like 5 or 10 people in the audience in those days, and they had to like pay him $5 just to stay around. Like very different show than season 10, which was like 1,000 people in the audience, 19-year waiting list to get on the audience. And in 2009, I was one of those people. I was like, please let me in. But so the Aerial Atom, everybody remembers Jeremy Clarkson's face, like, in the wind. And I vowed after I saw that show, like, I'm going to own an Aerial Atom one day. And now I own 1.2.
There you go. What's the
one's on order. So
okay.
I ordered one a year and a half ago, still not here. So TMI Racing in Virginia, if I could please have my car.
Yeah.
But so I bought one off of Bring a Trailer earlier this year because I wanted to get going with the show. And the star of the show is going to be the Aerial Atom. That's what the guests will drift.
Yeah. And if I remember right, like the Aerial Atom was an affordable and economic way to go really, really fast and corner really, really.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah. So the Top Gear Power Lap leaderboard, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was only below one car So it took a lap, this is like 2004, 5. It took a lap. It was like second highest on the leaderboard. And it was like, at the time, only like a 25,000 pound car in money, not weight. And it was only beaten by like a multi-million-dollar hypercar. And the top 20 cars on that power lap list are all multi-million-dollar hypercars.
Yeah.
So for a regular guy to do a lap time that fast, that's just intoxicating. That's like dollar per horsepower, which right now the top dollar per horsepower would probably be a used Hellcat. But then, then you're driving a Dodge and it won't work anyway.
All right. Well, we'll give you a pass on that. I had the Reliant Robin, which I believe was a 3-wheeled car.
Yes.
Front wheel in the middle.
That one got on, crashing it immediately and then turning the Robin into a space shuttle.
Yeah, and they gave it an actual go. One thing they had that you guys don't have yet is a pretty big budget.
That's a fact. Yeah, we got to make do with what we've got. I mean, like, we don't even have a way to get a brand new hypercar and test it on the same track every time. We'll figure it out.
You'll get there. The other one was when they all got motorhomes and fabricated them. And if you have never seen the show, it's pretty entertaining. The Vietnam special was pretty cool. And when they retrofitted ambulances and tested those ones. But to your point, there's not really a bad episode. Maybe the India special, but the rest are pretty darn good.
Yeah.
All right. For folks that want to watch or get involved, there's probably some ways to get involved. Come and watch.
100%. So if you didn't catch it already, the show is called StickShift, and the website that I bought is StickShift.com. So go to StickShift.com, put in your info. We'll let you know when it's time to come be a part of the audience, which we'd love to have you do. Most often that'll be here in Utah County, Utah. And then, of course, subscribe anyway, because then when the full episode comes out, we'll ping everybody and say, hey, come watch our first fully edited episode.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ethan. Congrats to you and the team. And this will be a fun journey to watch.
Thank you very much.